Curt Carsonson, and his title is My Uncle's Legacy. Give it up for Curt.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Did you know there are 168 hours in a week? Until today, I'd never really thought about it or done the calculation of how many hours it was. It's relevant because 1 week ago at this time, I had no idea that my uncle was not doing well and was hours from dying. In the last 168 hours, I've done my share of crying, reflecting, and talking to friends and family. Right now, for you, I want to evaluate my own communication strategies from the past week in regards to communicating my uncle's legacy. Dying at age 61, my Uncle Mark lived a life few could imagine living. He spent more than 4 decades in a wheelchair as a quadriplegic after breaking his neck in a diving accident as a 20-year-old. I'm 37. I only knew him as my uncle in the wheelchair because his accident happened 4 years before I was born. Death is a strange thing. Although some people from my life knew that I had spent a lot of time with Mark in recent years, most people didn't. And upon his death early last Tuesday morning, I found it to be of the utmost and urgent importance to share with anyone that would listen how important Mark was to me and how his life and death can matter to them. I had 2 main strategies for making his life and death be impactful beyond how it was affecting me. One was to share a tribute to my Facebook page. There I knew that my primary audience was the rest of my family and others that knew him. I wanted to make sure that they knew how important Mark was to me and see some of the photos of our activities together. But in addition, all of my connections on Facebook that didn't know Mark might be able to capture a glimpse of his life and his impact on me and possibly be positively impacted as well as a part of my secondary audience. The other way I thought to best communicate with others directly was to speak at his funeral. I recognize that because I live so close to Mark and we hung out 25 plus times per year in recent years, that I was the person in the family that was likely closest with him at the time of his death, at least in terms of how much time I'd been spending with him. And realistically, based on my time in Toastmasters, I knew I was better trained to give a speech than maybe anyone else would be at such an event. And I was grateful that I had the opportunity to do so. You may be wondering, what is Uncle Mark's legacy? Based on my observations of him and interactions with him, the legacy that Mark leaves is how to live an extraordinarily difficult life, but not to complain about it, and instead find the beauty and joy when possible. He was always so easy to laugh with and have fun with, making it possible, at least in those times, to ignore the obvious physical limitations that he lived with. Imagine for decades of your life, to be able to be unable to do some of the things most of us find so basic. From getting out of bed in the morning to showering and brushing your teeth or using the toilet or even making your own meals. And having a body that didn't allow him to do so many of the other activities that most of us find to be routine and take for granted. Yet the common theme for those that knew him well, and including his caretakers, is that he didn't complain. In addition to his daily routine and the challenges that brought to him, his body was not good at healing the various sores he would get due to his sedentary lifestyle. Still, he dealt with it in a way that allowed everyone, including him, to keep a good attitude. The lesson from Mark's life that I emphasized in my tribute on Facebook and at my speech at his gravesite is that the man didn't complain, and he found joy when possible in an otherwise incredibly difficult existence. Living in a time in history and in a country with so much technology and excess, we can easily forget how easy we have it compared to so many others in a different part of the world or those that have lived before us. Mark was an example of someone that was able to enjoy many of the luxuries that are available to us here in the modern day USA, but did so in such a difficult way compared to the most of us. I can only hope that by spreading the message of his life, that others can focus on the positives and enjoy their lives as best as possible. And what I take from this experience is that my job is not done. I must continue to share Mark's legacy, and maybe as importantly, I must adhere to it in my own life. Madam Toastmaster,